Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Nintendo, and it appears that Nintendo is at it again with DMCAs, this time with sheet music on music notes. So Purple's Chala over on YouTube says, "Hey everyone, just an emergency heads up. Literally just received word from sheet music distributor Music Notes that Nintendo is cracking down on third-party sheet music for their IPs everywhere. So if you want any of my Fire Emblem or Xenoblade sheets on Music Notes, or really any of your favorite unofficial arranger sheets of Mario or Animal Crossing, or Pokemon or Zelda whatever, you should get them ASAP." And if I head on over to her Music Notes page, I can see there's not a whole lot of Nintendo stuff here, but there is still Final Fantasy stuff. To be honest with you, I hate to say this, but I'm really not that surprised. Nintendo seems to have been very active this year with their DMCAs and trying to take stuff down. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And also go on ahead and, I'm going to butcher this name, but check out Purple's Chala channel as well, and I'll drop a link to that in the description below. She's got a lot of great music on there. And on a quick side note, Video Game Esoterica has a brand new video out called Nintendo Directly Goes After Emulation with Sega and the ESA, but what comes next? Video Game Esoterica has a pretty good knowledge of copyright and trademark law. And if you wanted to speculate on what comes next, go on ahead and check out that video. But moving on, and next up we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation with Ryujinx, and Ryujinx just got a brand new update. So version 1.1.1333 fixes smoke effects in Hogwarts Legacy and It Takes Two, and it may possibly fix particle effects in Tales of Kenzura and other Unreal Engine games. And it fixes vertex explosions on ice effects in Mortal Kombat 1. Next up, we're quickly talking about PS3 emulation with RPCS3, and RPCS3 has also introduced some improvements. So RPCS3 says they have fixed graphical issues in several games thanks to developer KDE. They fixed some rendering issues with the Insomniac PS3 engine, such as Foliage and Ratchet & Clank: A Crack in Time. So here's the before and here is the after, and things are looking a lot better. Next up, we're going back one generation and talking about PS2 emulation with PCSX2, and PCSX2 also just had a major update. So they say here, we've just released a new nightly version with changes done by Refraction, which aims to fix post-processing on around 120 games. Hopefully less games should exhibit problems when upscaling. If you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to the change in the description below and feel free to check it out. I mean, there's images here comparing before and after with upscaling, and they've got a full list of games that have been improved because of it. And I'm not going to lie, the games list here has some pretty heavy hitters in it, and this is a pretty big improvement, especially for everyone who is upscaling, which I would argue is probably quite a few people by now. Next up, we're quickly talking about an old game that's getting a new release on an old system. It's called Wardna Forest. It was released 37 years ago, and it's being released for the Sega Megadrive. I've got no idea if it's strictly going to be a Japanese release, but if you are curious about it, I'll drop a link to the store page in the description below. Additionally, if you're unfamiliar with the game like I am, I'll drop a link to the trailer in the description below as well so you can check that out. And speaking about new releases for old systems, next up we're talking about a brand new release for the Game Boy Advance, and this is thought to be a long lost game called Kien, or Kien, I'm not quite sure on how to pronounce that one. I'll drop a link to this YouTube trailer in the description below and feel free to check it out. Kien was originally developed back in the early 2000s and went unreleased until now, and they're calling it a pre-Souls-like game. It's up on Incubate Games, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below. It's not cheap. I've never played this one, and in terms of overall gameplay, I think Nintendo Power gave it around a 3 out of 5 stars, so about 60% overall. Next up, we're quickly talking about the Nintendo Direct that happened on June 18th. Now, in yesterday's video, I talked about the rumors that there was going to be Metroid as well as 2D Zelda gameplay, and turned out those rumors were true. So Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is set to release in 2025, and the gameplay footage shown so far is not too bad at all. And I'm wondering if this is going to be one of those games that's released on the Switch as well as the new Switch 2. There's also a brand new Zelda game where you play as Zelda, and it's got some very interesting gameplay mechanics, and they kind of missed an opportunity here to call it The Legend of Link. This one will be called The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and I'm liking the art style here. And this one was a big surprise. They announced the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection with 7 different games on it and a whole bunch of different goodies. And one game, or 7 games I guess, the fighting game community is going to be extremely excited about. They say here that some changes were made from the original arcade version to make some previously unplayable characters playable. And on top of that, they seem to have revived the Marvel vs. Capcom YouTube channel, so Capcom is going all in on this. Next up, we're quickly talking about a Pokemon ROM hack, and Pokemon Recharged Emerald Beta 1.4.0 has just released. There's been a whole bunch of bug fixes, some brand new changes, and a champion title defense. They say if you beat the league, instead of running the Elite Four again, someone will challenge you for the title defense. If you lose to a champion, you will have to beat the Elite Four and Wallace again for a new challenger to appear. If you already beat the champion in your save, the game will automatically patch your old save and give you a random challenger. The Pokemon League will now scale by 5 levels every time you beat it. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, I'll drop a link to the tweet in the description below and feel free to check it out. Next up, we're quickly talking about KDE, and KDE has just dropped Plasma 6.1 with some pretty big improvements for Wayland. So for Wayland, they've introduced triple buffering, which should make things a heck of a lot smoother. They've also got some brand new features here, including accessing remote Plasma desktops. On top of that, they've got some visual improvements and even more. To be honest with you, Plasma is one of my favorite desktop environments, and it just keeps getting better and better. Next up, we're quickly talking about Square Enix, and Square Enix has just announced Romancing Saga 2: Revenge of the Seven. This will be headed to the Switch, PlayStation, and Steam, but no mention of Xbox. And from my understanding, it will have Denuvo. Release date for this one is going to be October 24th of this year. I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I guess feel free to check it out. Next up, we're quickly talking about the PlayStation Portal, and if you've got a PS Portal, you're going to get an update that may add some more features that you may like. Apparently here, public Wi-Fi network support is coming. So the purpose of this is for people using the PS Portal in places like hotels, cafes, and airports with possible portals to get access to the Wi-Fi. Additionally, you'll be able to see the battery percentage, and there's new visual feedback for touchpad areas. Next up, we're quickly talking about Dragon Quest, and the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake was showcased during the Nintendo Direct. It launches November 14th of this year, and surprisingly here, I guess not surprisingly, it's also headed to Steam. I saw some comments out there from people thinking that this was a Switch exclusive, but it's really not. It's headed to basically every single gaming platform. Furthermore, there's going to be a Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, and it'll be headed out in 2025. Next up, we're quickly talking about Supernatural, and if you're a horror game fan, this game is releasing on Steam on July 15th of this year, so just around the corner. So in this game, you're a detective that's got to go through a haunted house. Unfortunately, I don't have a price for it yet, but I'll link the Steam page in the description below. And speaking about Steam, next up we're talking about a surprise release that I didn't see coming, and I'm going to butcher this name, but that's okay. It's Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. I'll drop a link to this one in the description below. According to the Steam reviews on this one, this game has been reviewed very positively, and there's no Denuvo on it. Next up, we're quickly talking about Zelda's Adventure on Game Boy. This is a remake of Zelda's Adventure for the CDI, and it is playable in a browser. I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and feel free to check it out. Next up, we're talking about another indie game that's about to launch on Steam, and I'm going to butcher this name as well, Meifumado. It's going to be launching on July 18th. Unfortunately, I don't have a price for it just yet, but it is up on Steam, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below in the event that you wanted to check it out. To be honest with you, I'm getting Blasphemous vibes, but the character seems a lot more agile. And last up here, we're talking about a brand new Switch emulator. It's called Ziunx, or Ziunx. I'm not quite sure on how to say this one. To be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about this one just yet. A lot of people have been talking about it, and they do have a telegram. It appears that it's based on Suyu, but they say they've modified it and made it better. They redesigned the functions and interface. In general, it is Suyu just remade. I wish I had more details about this one for you, but I don't. I don't use telegrams, so this is all I've got for now. If you know more about this one, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.